The Dallas Cowboys Report is powered by Manscaped. You can get 20% off and free shipping on all their fantastic men's grooming products, including the Perfect Package when you go to manscaped.com and you use promo code Cowboys. Again, that is manscaped.com, promo code Cowboys. Let's take a look at some of the top training camp winners and, yes, also losers on today's Dallas Cowboys video. We'll start positive with maybe the most impressive player at all of camp right now. That's wide receiver CeeDee Lamb. He has been absolutely dominant at camp, and that says more about CeeDee Lamb than it does the corners. Lamb has been able to win against everybody. And oh, by the way the practice is set up right now, it's not really after the catch winning, which Lamb is great at. We haven't even seen that opportunity because, well, it's not really a full game situation. Again, I think Lamb's emergence and step forward says a lot more about him than it does the corners for the Cowboys, who we'll discuss in depth here in a little bit. Lamb last year was going to go for 1,000 yards if the Cowboys had Dak Prescott as their quarterback and weren't rotating through Gilbert, Dalton, and Ben DiNucci. So I am very excited about CeeDee Lamb for this upcoming season. The Hall of Fame game, folks, Cowboys against the Steelers, coming up Thursday, August 5th. Do you want us to do a watch party? Or instead, should I just go start my Cabo trip early? If you want us to do a Hall of Fame game watch party, do me a favor. Share this video. We can track it. We got the analytics here on YouTube. So if you want us to do, we need 40 of you guys to share it, and me and producer Sam will hang out late into the evening on Thursday with some watch party and maybe even some mailbag stuff as well. All right, our next winner, Randy Gregory. I will continue to hype up Randy Gregory this off-season, preseason, into the regular season. Then we'll see if it's actually true or not. Gregory continues to draw praise at camp. And frankly, Trysten Smith, who I was going to put as a winner but has the elbow issue, so I didn't put him on here, is the only one who's really been able to lock down Randy Gregory so far at camp. I truly believe that this normal offseason, Randy Gregory being able to be around the team, be around the facility, is a big deal for him. Now, last year, as he was, I would argue, incorrectly buried on the depth chart behind Aldon Smith, I think that this normal type of offseason, this structure for Randy Gregory, is a really big deal for him. So I am all aboard the Randy Gregory hype train. I am convinced, and maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong, he's going to at least double his sack production this year. I think he's a great fit in the Dan Quinn defense. He looks fantastic out there. I am hyped about Randy Gregory right now. I want to hear from you guys, by the way. Who is your biggest training camp winner so far? Let me know what you guys think here in the comments section. Your biggest camp winner. Go vote right now. Would not be surprised if many of you mentioned Trevon Diggs. Now, I do think Diggs taking a step forward. I'll give some shout-outs to some of the media there who have made note of Diggs' technique and improvements from that perspective, being able to do some feint and press coverage stuff. That's really impactful because the Cowboys need him to be more consistent this upcoming season. He is the clear number one corner on this Dallas Cowboys team, and that's like not even a praise to Diggs, that there's not much provenness behind him as far as number ones or even number twos end up going. Diggs made a lot of plays in the football last year. 3 interceptions, also broke up another 14 passes. The consistency, though, is still there. Diggs got picked on a lot. He got beat a decent amount as well, some of which I think is fair to blame on not having reliable, steady safety play. But the Cowboys do need a better and improved Diggs. Now, the upside is there. I think we're going to get that, but he's not there yet. You still need to take the step. Everyone assumes it'll happen, but it has to actually happen first and foremost. He unquestionably right now is the number one corner for the Cowboys. As I mentioned, folks, today's show made possible by Manscaped. Get the perfect package. Comes with the new and improved Lawnmower 4.0. The most comfortable boxers known to man, and some extra goodies to help you feeling fresh and clean downstairs where the sun don't shine. You can get 20% off and free shipping on the perfect package or just the Lawnmower 4.0 and all their other great products over at Manscaped when you use promo code COWBOYS right there below me at manscaped.com. Manscaped.com. That link, by the way, will be clickable for you guys to make your lives easier in the comment section and in the description. Back-to-back corners here. Maurice Canady next up. And I'm focusing a lot on some of the bigger name guys, which, that's maybe to be expected. But Canady's drawn some really good reviews at camp. He leads the team right now in camp interceptions, which, does an interception count if it comes against Ben DiNucci? Technically, yes, and that's the best way to be right, I suppose. But with Jordan Lewis a bit banged up, who I almost put on our loser's side, by the way, but didn't want to do too many injured guys, he's got some first-team slot reps. He is not guaranteed a roster spot by any stretch of the imagination. However, he's pushing very hard to make the 53-man roster, which will cause some problems for the losers, which we'll get to here later on. Now, Canady opted out of the 2020 season due to COVID. He played in 2019 with both the Ravens and the Jets. He got some opportunities, made some plays, but it was a very small sample size, and that he got cut by a team mid-season is always not the best indication. But if he's able to provide some inside-outside depth flex, that opens up the possibility for the Cowboys to maybe make a surprise roster move involving Anthony Brown or maybe somebody else who you'll see in the loser's side. Now, this next question doesn't have to be a positive surprise. It can be a negative one. But what or even who has been the biggest training camp surprise for you so far? Get your votes in the comment section right now. Let's go to Dalton Schultz, and honestly, I think Blake Jarwin's kind of a winner for being out there at camp. Sean McCune's made some nice impact, but I think Schultz has been the top tight end. Now, Jarwin's been on a bit of a pitch count from his own ACL issue last year, but Schultz spent a lot of time in the Dak Prescott backyard this preseason, or I should say off-season, getting some reps in, has looked pretty good. And this tight end battle to start is far from over, by the way, between Schultz and Jarwin. But Schultz is doing everything he can to be the number one guy. And I still think the likely outcome here ends up being some type of a rotation. I think Schultz is a better blocker. Jarwin offers you more seam stretching ability, which will be better maximized by Dak Prescott than, say, Andy Dalton, for example. But who do you think ends up winning the starting job? We'll define starting here as who plays the most snaps if they're both healthy. Get your votes in. Type in DS for Dalton Schultz, or if you want to be a child, type in BJ for Blake Jarwin. Just make a little joke on that one. Let's talk Leighton Vander Esch right now here. And I'm not saying he's all the way back, because I still got to see it in games, and the health, of course, is a major problem for him. But it seems like LVE has looked a little bit more like his 2018 form in camp so far. The media reports saying he has routinely been around the football. Again, health is going to be the number one thing for Leighton Vander Esch. If he is healthy, that's going to be a big boost for the Cowboys defense. The guy we've seen in recent years, the past 2 years, he's not been the same player. But he can hold up in coverage. I like his fit at the weak side linebacker position. So I wonder then, if he's healthy, if it's going to be in most, not all, but in most two linebacker sets, and there will be a rotation with, Smith and Parsons and Neal and maybe Jabril Cox, but I wonder if it's LVE and Micah Parsons who lead the way for the Cowboys at linebacker. We'll get to Jaylon Smith in the loser's side, unfortunately, but if LVE's healthy, that is a big deal for him. That is a big addition for the Cowboys as it relates to the linebacker position. Not big addition, big impact at the linebacker spot. Now, maybe LV's the answer to your question here. Who plays the most snaps at linebacker in 2021? Get your votes in right now. As I've said before, my prediction is still Micah Parsons. The Cowboys are throwing everything at him, giving him reps at middle linebacker, some minor, I think, play calling responsibilities. That's been a bit overblown on Cowboys Twitter. Some DPR, designated pass rusher, strong side linebacker reps. He looks fast at camp. McCarthy's praised him. Dallas will give Parsons every single opportunity to be a starter at training camp. Or at the season, I should say, through training camp, in terms of how he ends up earning that job. Excuse me. I still think Parsons' best role is as a downhill attacker. That's blitzing, filling the run, whatever. I want to try to hide him a little bit in coverage, which I think you can do, especially if you're going to get creative with the blitzing. But the Cowboys made him a first-round pick. As a first-round pick, you need him to play, given how bad your defense was last year. So I am expecting Parsons to make a significant impact in his first season. If you guys want more Cowboys videos every single day, hit that big red button and subscribe. Yeah, training camp's here. We're not going anywhere. We're going to keep you guys covered with everything going on around the Dallas Cowboys and some fun things planned as the season goes along as well. So if you want Cowboys coverage, this is the best spot for it right here on the Cowboys Report. Hit that big red button right now. Let's talk defense now. Carlos Watkins, not the name I thought we were going to mention here. He's made a couple plays getting his hands up in camp, but most importantly, beyond being listed as the unofficial starter defense tackle, which doesn't mean that much, unofficial starters not that important. It's, after all, unofficial, based on the Cowboys media depth chart, whatever. He has been getting work with the starters at camp over the likes of maybe a Brent Urban. Now, this defensive tackle rotation is very far from over. But Trysten Hill, he's out right now. We'll get to him in the loser side. Neville Gallimore is going to play a big-time role, I think. But Watkins, who I thought was on the bubble entering camp, is making an effort to be on this roster as a key, namely run stopper, for the Dallas Cowboys. I'm very curious to see what the rotation looks like in the preseason games, how that all moves along, but getting some work with the ones, I believe is a very big deal for Carlos Watkins as relates to his Dallas Cowboys future in 2021. Those were our camp winners. Now it's time for some camp losers. I'm sorry, guys, there are winners and losers in life. Sometimes it's out of your control, but there are losers. Let's deal with it. First up is Amari Cooper, and this is due to the injury, right? Cooper is still out of Cowboys training camp with injury, and we are now basically at the Hall of Fame game, so I will raise my panic concern there, as I said I was going to. I'm not freaking out quite yet, but Cooper himself admitted the rehab has been longer than expected. This has not gone the way it was supposed to. Now, I don't think Cooper needs many, if any, reps. We know what he is. We know how dynamic of a player he actually is. With that said, if I'm the Cowboys, and as a Cowboys fan myself, I'm going to be very concerned if we get out of Oxnard and through the first preseason game and Cooper's not cleared by then. That is a red flag to me. I know he said he's in great shape, whatever. I just want to see him out there, and the sooner he is, the better I will end up feeling. So who is your biggest training camp loser? Get your votes in for me right now in the comments section. Let me know what you think. I'm going to go now with Dak Prescott and really all of the quarterbacks, and I'll explain the back end of that as well. Although I remain not that concerned about Dak Prescott, being out with a shoulder strain unquestionably is not ideal. It's not what you want if you're the Cowboys and Dak. Now, the Cowboys had pushed that 2 to 3 day recovery. As we said here, you were supposed to take the over on that. That never really made that much sense as a realistic end recovery. If this were mid-season, yes. In August, late July, no. Never made a lot of sense. Here's what Mike McCarthy had to say. Quote, if this is the regular season, I think this conversation would be totally different. And frankly, we won't be able to hold him back. This is just being smart about the long run. You know, we're fortunate we have an extra week of camp here. We're fortunate to have the extra preseason game. If we get to like 2 weeks from now and Dak's not out there, I will start to raise my panic alarm. I'll start to sound that alarm. Right now, look, to a certain extent, Dak's kind of his own worst enemy with this stuff. That second foot procedure and the shoulder strain is due to overwork. He does so much. He's such a I'm going to practice and do everything guy. He pushed himself too hard, more or less. And that's not a disaster, but you got to make sure Dak's on a bit of a pitch count here. He was very, very active coming back from his injury, trying to do so much, and also with his backyard football field throwing with guys. So it's a bit of a overuse injury to an extent. It's not a huge red flag. But again, let's check in 2 weeks from now. If he's not in the second preseason game, that's a red flag for me. The other big red flag here is the backup quarterback situation, because it's not good. Which, look, I do love the Tom Moore quote of, we don't practice effed. That's kind of what it is with Garrett Gilbert, Ben DiNucci, and Cooper Esch. Gilbert's okay. You can survive with him, I think. But in the end, if Dak misses a major portion of the year, it's like last year. The season's over. And that's how it is for all teams with an actual franchise quarterback. It's just the season's cooked at that point. So what is your concern level with the backup quarterbacks? Rate this for me on a scale of 1 to 10. Honestly, I think a high number is very realistic here. The backup quarterback room is not very good. To be fair, that's pretty common across the entirety of the NFL. Next up on our camp losers, Jaylon Smith. Sorry, bud. The camp highlights, the camp film, it just looks like at points he's laboring out there. He doesn't have great fluidity. He doesn't move as quick as even Micah Parsons or LVE, and that's a red flag. And the addition of Micah Parsons is a problem for Jaylon Smith. The things in theory that Smith should be able to do well, doing some run support, maybe being an edge setter, a bit of a blitzer at points, I think Parsons and others do better than him. And I think there is some disagreement within the front office and coaching staff here in terms of how to utilize Jaylon Smith. I think the front office, namely the Jones boys, love Jaylon, and I get it. He's such a personable guy. I understand it there. From the coaching staff perspective, Keanu Neal is, in theory, better in coverage. I want to use Parsons over Jones. I want to use LVE over Jaylon Smith. So the role for Smith, all of a sudden, a little bit tricky from that perspective. Finally, not cornerback here, second to last, as I'll tease it here. 2 guys left, my bad. Reggie Robinson. And the splash plays haven't really been there. Seems like at points, Nashawn Wright and Robinson both kind of getting mossed by CeeDee Lamb. That's okay. It's CeeDee Lamb after all. I do think this, though. Maurice Canady impressing has a negative impact on Reggie Robinson. Because there's a numbers game, right, guys? Trevon Diggs, Jordan Lewis, Kelvin Joseph, roster locks. I think Anthony Brown might start week 1. Now, maybe if Joseph and then Wright and Canady and Robinson all impressed, they could trade Anthony Brown. But think about the numbers at corner, guys. If Diggs, Brown, Lewis, and Joseph are roster locks, and Maurice Canady makes the roster over Reggie Robinson, that's 5 guys right there. The 6th, if there's a tiebreaker, it's going to be Nashawn Wright over Reggie Robinson. And I think Wright makes this team. And depending on what you do with C.J. Goodwin here, the numbers get really out of whack for the Cowboys. There's too many corners there that you'd want to roster. So what I'm saying is you might got to cut one of these guys. So who is it? Type MC for Maurice Canady or type RR for Reggie Robinson. Here's your last one, Trysten Hill, because he is still stuck on the PUP list. He is now on his 3rd defensive coordinator and D-line coach in as many seasons. Missing time hurts Hill because Neville Gallimore, Carlos Watkins, Brent Urban, Oso Odigizua, and Quentin Bahana are all ahead of him. The Cowboys might carry 5 defensive tackles. There's no sponsor, quote-unquote, if you will, for Trysten Hill right now. That puts him on the roster bubble. So we will see what ends up happening with Trysten Hill as it relates to his future as a member of the Dallas Cowboys. If you guys haven't already, go check out Manscaped, please and thank you. 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com. Use that promo code, Cowboys.